Hey there, it's Harry from blah, 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 blah. Today I'm going to take you through a chicken tutu. Hey there, it's Harry from Step Daddy BBQ. Today I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to make competition chicken box. Show you all my tips and tricks on how to make 4 types of boxes for ribs, chicken, pork and brisket. I won in excess of 100 plus first places in the 20 to 30 grand championships. We'll show you all the tricks of the trades as I'm a one-man team and I don't have any time to waste, and I can do a set of boxes in about 15 minutes. When you go to a barbecue contest, the very first thing the officials will do is give you your box and give you a number. So in this example here, I have box number 46. It's got an underscore on it so I can tell which side is up. One of the very first things you want to do when you get a box is to inspect the box to make sure that the box is not cracked or split or is any kind of blemish whatsoever, because that could be considered marking and you could get disqualified. If your box has any dents or tears or rips, please go see the officials and get a new box. After you inspect the box for any tears or breakage, if the box is intact, the first thing you want to do is you want to look at the box and look at the height of the clamshell. These are 9 by 9 boxes. The first thing you want to notice is that sometimes certain promoters don't end up giving you a 9.5, a 9.25 inch box. Sometimes this box is just a tad smaller. You have to keep all these things in your mind, because as you plate, you don't want to be caught in a situation where your box is too small and your big meats such as the ribs or the brisket slices will not fit. Another very key facet of boxes is I always look at the height and I measure the bottom of the clamshell versus the top. So on this particular clamshell, you'll notice that it's about half as tall as it is on the bottom. So I need to make sure that when I place my meat, the meat will be as high as possible, but yet will not touch the top of the clamshell right here, so that it will not mar the surface of the meat. The other thing I also look for is the construction of the box. Different boxes have different constructions. On this particular one, this has 2 tabs. I want to make sure that I'm very careful looking at the construction of the tab, because if I tear these tabs during the plating process, I may end up getting into trouble with the judging officials. If you see tabs here, be very, very careful not to break the tabs as you make your boxes for the winning entries. As I mentioned, the normal size box is a 9-inch box, but some promoters end up buying larger boxes. I've had contests where the box is really, really big. You really have to keep that in mind, because as you plate your meat, if you are planning on a 9-inch box and the box is 9.5 inch, your meat will look kind of a little bit smaller and it won't fill the box. So you have to change your game plan once you size up the size of the box. I'm gonna cut it into basically 3/8 inch chiffonade into the box. First one is making the rib box. It has a very little lettuce. I'm gonna make a standard size height box. Like so, this is the rib box. So that we can do a 5 by 5. So we want the depth. Okay. Here's the level for a chicken box. Into the brisket box. So this one, the height is higher, so we put more chiffonade. So the brisket slices will sit higher in the box. So we're dynamically adjusting the level by which we present the meat by adjusting the amount of lettuce that we put into the bottom of the box, so that the meat will stay as high as possible and not touching the lid. First one is I'm going to make the rib box. So we take the parsley like so. Okay, twist it like so. Lay it here. It's here. This is the rib box where I make a ring of parsley around the edge so that I can create a depression in the middle. I'm going to put my meat in the middle, so I'm going to do a 5 by 5 arrangement of 5 ribs at the bottom and 5 ribs on the top layer. So I need a little bit of room in the box so that when I put my ribs in, the top of the ribs don't hit the top of the box and mar the finish. finishing the chicken box, and the chicken box, sometimes depending on the size of the chicken, I stand it higher, sometimes I stand it lower. So on this one, we're just going to finish it. Make sure all the parsley is turned the right way, and it looks nice and flat. So after you make the box, this is a chicken box, so it's pretty high. What first thing you want to do is you want to wet it down with a spray bottle, with just plain water. And then to keep the parsley wet, you want to place a damp napkin over it, like so. And then what you want to do is you wet the napkin. Okay, then you close the lid, like so. And then every couple of hours or so, you can go ahead and spray the edges like this. And the wicking action of the water will keep the parsley nice and fresh. This is good for up to 8 hours. This technique of spritzing the wet tissue invokes a capillary action, and the capillary action will keep the tissue moist and then keep your greens looking really fresh before you turn in your meat. Here's another black belt trick with a bag of ice. I cook in California and Arizona. On some days it's just so hot, it's over 100 degrees. The lettuce and the parsley is going to melt. So here we have a little trick we want to show you. We put a bag of ice like so to keep the heat cool. Then we put the napkin over, spray it like so, and close it out. Here's another black belt trick with the napkin. So before I plate, what I try to do is I will take the box out, remove the napkin, and let it sit for about 10 minutes for the parsley to warm up to room temperature. And as I get ready to plate, about 17 minutes before turning, usually between 17 to 12 minutes before turning, I'll place the napkin over here. So we have about an inch overhang here, so that in case there's any sauce, the sauce will be picked up at the napkin. I put some parsley here, so if any parsley is stained with sauce, I'll take it out and toss it, and I would just replace it with the parsley from the lid. And once the entire assembly is done and my item is plated, I will gently lift this, remove all the parsley, and have my meat completely pristine. Another trick I want to show you, a black belt trick, is before I close the lid, I spray the lid so it's wet with a lot of water. Now it looks like some of this water may take the finish off the meat, but it will not. When you close the lid, that will create a nice lubricant, and then the sauce is never going to be able to stick on the lid, like so. And then what I do is I open it again, make sure that there's no sauce. If there's any sauce here, I'll dab it away, spray some more water. So the first box I want to show you is my rib box. And the way I've done it is I've left the center open, like so. I have a ring of parsley around it. So I'm going to do a 5x5 style rib box. And that way it's low, so that when the clamshell closes, there's enough clearance for the top of the ribs. And that's how we handle the different heights when we do boxes. Here's a rib example. And on this next example, this box is a little higher, but not as high as the chicken. So I may use a brisket or the pork butt here because the box is not very high. And then the last example is my chicken box, which typically is pretty high. And I have this example here with the trick I showed you with the bag to keep it cold when I cook in really hot desert conditions in California and Arizona. And we leave this about an inch like so, and we plate it, and you notice how high this box is, so that when my chicken is placed 6 pieces, it rises to the top, and the meat is in the face of the judges but not touching the top of the lid. And we always make sure we spray the top of the lid before we close it, so that the meat will not be marred by the top of the box. So there you have it. Slap Your Daddy Lazyman boxes, done essentially in 15 minutes by a one-man cook team who has won over 100+ first places.